When you begin to draw your sphere, you can use any round object or compass to lightly, very lightly, make your round circle. Then you're going to take a number 2 pencil or any 2B pencil and start to lay in a light coloring of the graphite. You always want to start lighter. You don't want to get your darkest color laid down till the very end. So I'm just putting in some pencil marks on the bottom of this sphere, not even going towards the top with the direct pencil, as you'll see in a little bit why. You always want to run your pencil strokes in the shape of the object that you're shading. So if you're doing a curved object, you can see I'm kind of curving my strokes. I'm not going like this. I'm going in a curved motion because that's the shape of the object that I'm shading. So now you can see that I have laid down one layer of graphite. It's not too dark, not too light. And I'm going to take a Kleenex at this point, and I'm going to go in a circular motion over that layer of graphite. I'm not going outside the line of the sphere I drew, but what I'm doing is just blending in a circular motion that first layer of graphite. And you'll notice I didn't put any pencil up in this part of the sphere. That's where my light source is coming from. That's where the lightest part of this sphere is going to be, so why do I need to put anything up there? I can put a little incidental color up there eventually with the Kleenex if I want to tweak it as I get towards the end of this. But now you can start to see the sphere is forming already. It's gone from a circle and it's starting to take shape just from that one application of graphite and the blending with the Kleenex. Now I'm going to take and blend into the center of the circle with a little bit of the pencil that's still on the Kleenex. And that's going to give me another value. So just with that one application of the graphite, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 values already. Now I'm going to add one more layer of graphite, remembering to go in the circular motion to the same part that I added the first graphic, a little bit thinner this time, a little closer to the edge, because I kind of like what my values are doing there. I don't want to mess them up too badly. I'm going to stay on this side and concentrate over here because that's where my shadow is going to be. That's where I want it to be darker than this side because my light's coming down from here. It's going to be a little lighter over here and darker over here. Now I've got my second layer of graphite, and I'm concentrating in this half moon area here a little bit harder. I'm leaving this edge just a little bit lighter than right in front of it because I'm going to show you how to make a reflected light. I'm going to wipe out a little bit of that color once I get my cast shadow, my deepest shadow, which is always the shadow that is cast by the object. Once I get the cast shadow in, there's always a light line of reflected light that will lift your object off the table or lift it out into space a little bit. I'm going to demonstrate that after I get the shape of this tweaked a little bit. I'm going to take my Kleenex now, and again, circular motion. Blend that in a little bit more. I'm going to add the cast shadow, and you can really go to town on that. If you really feel the need, you've got to press. This is where your darkest dark is going to be. I never get totally dark on my sphere till I add my cast shadow, because that gives me somewhere to go. Kind of gives me a reference for, okay, my cast shadow is this dark. I can maybe go a little bit darker on the shadow side of my object. Bring this straight back. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to bring that right to the edge there. Got a little bit of a line here I want to get rid of. That's where I want my cast shadow to be. Now I can say, yeah, I think I can go a little bit darker here. So once again, I'm going to put a third layer of graphite in. Don't be afraid of your dark side. One of the problems I see with people when they first start shading is they don't go dark enough. They're afraid. They leave all their dark tones out. Don't be afraid of the dark. That's what makes your pictures interesting. That's what makes them pop, is those dark values, those dark and medium values. And I'm going to bring some of that out in the center. Kind of liking that. Bring a little to the top and to the edge. Now, as you can see, incidentally, there is a little bit of a light line there, but if you got it covered up a little bit, you take your kneaded eraser and squeeze it into a fine tip line, and you can just pull that right across the point where your object would be lifting from the table. And what it does is it creates a little line of reflected light that lifts the object off the table. Mine is just a little bit thick, so I'm going to go back in. Then you can go back and forth on this circle for up to an hour at a time, adding and tweaking and layering. But you can see now you've got a three-dimensional object that's very well shaded. You've got your full light, your half tone, you've got your shadow, your cast shadow, and your reflected light. At this point, you can go in and clean up any blurs or edges. You can add a little bit of definition if you want on the sides. You can add to the edges that you think you might want a little bit of shadow, depending on how your light source is coming. And it always works better to work from a real wooden sphere that's being lit by a light, because you can actually see where these places slide from one value to the other. But the trick of getting any object that you want to draw is to slide these values very gently from dark, medium to light without seeing any striping in between.